I'm Mark Ramsey, and I'm really pleased to have with me Dan Mason. Everybody in the radio industry knows Dan Mason, as well they should. Dan is the president and CEO of CBS Radio, of course, one of America's largest and most significant broadcasters with tentacles not only in radio, but obviously in television and in digital. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Mark.
You know, Dan, the main reason I wanted to talk to you today is because I heard you make an address about a year ago, and it was to your programmers, and the topic was the importance of the content between the songs to radio's future. And I know that the conventional thinking is, let's just take out all the expense and play the songs, because if we do that in the short run, we maximize revenue theoretically. You had a really refreshing and different take on that, and I thought coming from you, that was really important, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to share that.
Well, I believe that radio is such an intimate medium that it's all about also what's between the lines. Everybody plays the hits, or at least they should. But what differentiates radio stations are what the personalities bring to the table. It's so refreshing to see radio stations who are part of their community. And whether it's a large market or medium market or a small market, especially in times of crisis, weather crisis specifically, you look at some of the jobs that radio broadcasters did in Alabama when the tornadoes hit there, or whether it was Joplin, Missouri, wherever they hit there. I mean, radio broadcasters were there, and just to hear some of the stories that have come out of those communities, what the role that radio played, it's just incredible. So I still believe that our industry has that fastball. We just have to throw that constantly, because we're really the backbone still of a community, especially medium and small markets as well as large markets.
And what does that mean about the other things that come between the songs, namely personalities, entertainment, as well as the information? I mean, it seems to me that as we go forward, almost anybody can create a music radio station. Whether or not it has any listeners doesn't matter. Almost anybody can create this on Pandora or anywhere else. Isn't the competitive advantage of radio really not only how we weave that together, but what else we do besides?
Well, yeah, absolutely. If you look over the last 20 years, especially when we hit the early to mid 80s, the disc jockey's role has been watered down so much by don't talk, don't give the title and artist of songs, play hit after hit, don't give anybody any chance to tune out. So, I mean, but that's the role of a disc jockey, is to introduce people to music that we all like, to share information about weather and traffic in the city that we live in. You know, it's not uncommon still that you drive for several minutes, up to an hour, not even hear the name of the city that a radio station is broadcasting from, which we've really pushed back hard with our program directors to make sure that they still capture the weather. I mean, there's a lot of programmers out there probably who feel like the time and the temperature are not key elements of what goes on in the community every day. But there's a reason that there were great time and temp disc jockeys 30 years ago. It's because it was needed and still needed on the radio. So, you know, it's just encouraging our people to be a great disc jockey.
You know, the temptations, Dan, must be overwhelming for someone in your position to say, you know, I could wring extra money out of this particular brand if I take all those extras out of this particular brand, at least in the short run. As you know, those temptations play out not just in our industry, but in every industry. How do you counter those? How do you overcome those?
Mark, I really don't think that I don't think the temptation is there to extract talk to add more commercials. I think the temptation is there that you would extract talk in thinking that was going to be the clear pathway for you to get ratings. That's where it's at. And so I believe that there's a fine line, there's a balance, and it can't be tilted to one side or another. But playing 20 songs in a row possibly could not get you ratings. If you have a combination of great content between the records and you play the right songs, then I believe that's the ticket to success.
I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you about the digital front. I mean, CBS is very active on the digital front. It is one of the most active broadcasters there, and certainly a leader in that space. And you have a new app out today, and I know you were just at the Burrell conference. Can you talk a little bit about what you experienced at that conference, and what the strategy is for the company, and why the digital integration with the broadcast assets is so important?
Well, we believe we've shifted our strategy here over the past couple of years, and we have the lessons we have learned is that we are not so much interested in taking our radio stations and shifting listeners to a different platform. What we are through digital tools, but what we are interested in is taking the digital tools to engage our listeners more. Perfect example, the app that we created called Audio Roadshow. It's used at WFAN and Afternoon Drive on the Mike Francesa show. It's up that app now. We estimate it was a big day in New York yesterday for sports with the Tim Tebow story, but up to 10% of Mike's audience used that app yesterday.
Wow.
We have the figures to show for that against his daily cum. So we're excited that we believe that app will draw more listening or out of Mike's audience to increase ratings more. We don't look at driving Mike's audience necessarily to another platform, although I do believe that making our product accessible in other places is a good thing. But it's not about building another platform. It's about building apps to get engagement and longer time spent listening out of the existing product. So that's really that's what we've been trying to do here at CBS Radio. As far as the Burrell conference, it was a great conference. It was always fun to listen to the other businesses. But one of the takeaways that I got, there was a lot of skepticism over the different mediums that are supposedly dead. During the course of that conference, you hear newspapers dead, you hear yellow pages are dead, you hear radio is dead. A person had mentioned that television is dead. So the comment I made was, next year you guys are going to come back and say the internet is dead, and then you won't be able to have a conference. But it's just, there's so much skepticism that the truth is no one is dead and everybody is alive. You could argue about how well they are, but everybody is still in this game, and with the use of digital products can extend that time and engagement that we bring to the business.
Well, and it seems to me that what you're doing with your digital products, including the new app you released today called Your Day, is really kind of leveraging the relationship that your stations have with your consumers, or the relationship your personalities have, in the case of the sports app you were talking about, with consumers, and allowing them more places to do more things in the presence of those station brands, which of course includes new opportunities for your advertisers at the same time, right?
Well, Your Day is very exciting because it's 24 sites that are launched, all contained locally, because CBS is about local commerce, whether it's radio, television, or now the digital applications. This is all about local commerce. It brings together advertisers, it brings together listeners with trusted brands that they know, and it's just a fabulous collection of digital assets right there. I hope maybe you could show a screenshot of that as well.
Yeah, one last question, Dan. Reading the trades day after day, there is some sense from some voices in the radio industry that as an industry, we're better off, quote unquote, sticking to the knitting and not investing resources on the digital front. And given the leadership that CBS has, and given the success you've had in this area, I mean, how do you respond to voices like those?
I would say that that's pretty easy for us, because we too believe that we stick to the knitting. We feel we're great radio broadcasters. We're still involved in our communities. However, the use of these digital applications against a medium like radio, take a one-to-one medium, i.e. cell or digital, and combine that with a one-to-many medium like radio or even broadcast television. And if you put those together, you get a talk-to-talk-back medium, which is something that is a hybrid that brings both of those great technologies together.
Dan Mason, CBS Radio, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being a part of this with me.
Glad to do it anytime, Mark.